All right.
Welcome to the podcast, John. How you been?
Good. Thank you, Asher. I've been good. Doing great. I'm in Nashville now, so
Oh, that's right. How do you like how do you like Tennessee?
I love it so far. Absolutely. It's great.
Is it Nashville that's the country capital or is that Memphis?
Oh, it's Nashville. Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
So you got
Yeah.
a chance to enjoy that aspect.
Yeah, I had actually Garth Brooks did a concert and I had a friend who invited me to go to it. So she had an extra ticket.
Very
So
cool.
uh, I'm not even a country fan, but Garth Brooks can put on a show. So but I am a musician, so I
Oh,
can appreciate a good live show, and he puts on a good one. So I was like, let's go.
nice. It's funny. I didn't know that about you. We spend so much time just doing work and just having the nose so buried in the books is sometimes you forget, but that's part of the reason why I wanted to be able to talk to you outside of
Yeah,
work and kind of get to know you a bit better.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I play guitar and drums.
How long you played?
I've been playing drums since like fifth grade, but I didn't get my first drum set until eighth grade.
Hmm,
And then shortly, like a year later after that, I got my first guitar.
gotcha. What got you into music?
My dad was a drummer,
Hmm,
and so did that. And then in seventh, eighth grade, I fell in love with the whole Seattle scene,
mhm.
uh, 90s music, Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all that, and Pearl Jam. And then yeah, I was all in at that point. And that's
Gotcha.
why I went to college. My first degree was at Berkeley College of Music in the Boston, audio production engineering, and that was just all stemmed from that.
Hmm, that's pretty cool. So you spent some time out there and you went, I guess you went, would you call it like the traditional route, going through school, getting the degree? Did you do band in high school or were you like starting up your own band?
I did do the marching band 1 year in high school when I lived in South Louisiana, uh, percussion, but just that 1 year. And um, but it was it was more for personal use.
Hmm,
Once I graduated college in Boston, I decided that's not what I wanted to do, produce other people's music.
right.
My plan was to move to Los Angeles, but I ended up moving back to Louisiana for a girl, and that didn't
Mhm.
work out. So after that, I just used it personally and started my own band. And yeah, we uh we got signed to a booking agency out of Dallas, toured all over Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama for a couple of years before we disbanded. But in the meantime, we did record a full length album.
Hmm. Is it still available?
Yeah, it's on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I didn't even know it was on Spotify, and I had a so tell somebody about it, and told him it was on YouTube and what to search, and they searched it on Spotify instead and sent me a screenshot of it. I'm like, what? I didn't even know it was on there.
Nice.
So I don't know how it got on there, honestly.
Gotcha. Well, I guess if it blows up, so to speak, then maybe they'll be kicking you back some royalties.
Well, yeah, it's copyrighted and all that. So I did back in the day. We did have some radio, and I did get like a $20 check every now and again.
Gotcha.
But I do need to. I really don't mean it's not being promoted. It's just like only if you know about it, you search it. So I don't think I'll be getting anything.
Gotcha. What's it called?
The name of the band is Riverside Railway.
Mm,
It's alternative Southern rock funk.
gotcha. Did you come up with the name, or how'd you guys come up with that?
My lead singer actually came up with it. We were in our band room, which was in a old building downtown Monroe, Louisiana, that
Mhm.
someone rented out just for bands to use. And we had done a band practice, and we're sitting there, and right adjacent to the building is a railroad track.
Mhm.
And whenever a train goes by, it has to blow its horn because it's coming up on the train that goes over the river. It's like
Mm.
this building is like it's a building, train track, street, river. Anyway, so when the train comes by and blows the horn, you can't even talk to each other. It's so loud. It's right
Yeah.
there on the other side of the wall. So train goes by blowing his horn. He was just like Riverside Railway. And in retrospect, it's a tongue twister. Wish we would have named it something else. It confuses people sometimes, like Riverside Railroad. I'm like, no,
That's funny.
it's too many R's. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wish we would have named it something else, but either way, it was a great time while it lasted. It was good times. I loved it. I miss being on stage, and now I'm here in Nashville with a huge music scene, and I'd love to start something else up, but I just really don't have the time for it.
Gotcha. Do you play in your leisure time just for yourself?
No, not really.
Gotcha. It's not something you do just to kind of veg out or decompress.
Not daily. I mean, I have acoustic guitar I'll mess around with sometimes, but I moved up here to be closer to my kids, so most of my free time is spent with my kids.
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you this question. I ask every guest, who do you say you are?
Who do I say what?
Who do you say you are?
Who do I say I am? In what way?
However it first occurs to you. I mean, whether it's your name or um, who, what you represent, or just like who you want people to know you as.
Well, at this point in my life, um, I introduced myself as Johnny, not John.
Hmm.
So, um, but I mean, first and foremost, I'm a father. That's the most important thing to me at this point. That's why I picked up everything from Georgia and moved up here. I'm an hour away from my kids. They're actually in Kentucky,
Hmm.
but I have them pretty much every week. So they are the most important thing to me at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Uh, but ultimately, I'm an entrepreneur. Um, musician as a hobby. It used to be my baby. Used to be all in on that one. I was going to be a rock star. I was going to be famous,
Mhm.
right? I had a college degree, uh, but that didn't work out in the end. Could have if I would have done it differently. Not done it, so trying to do it independently. But we but now I'm starting my own business, and just working doing the welding thing and inspecting thing to get by to
Hmm.
finance what I'm doing with this. So
What's your business in?
it can be a controversial topic for some people,
Yeah.
But since my divorce, I became a sperm donor,
Hmm.
not with the sperm bank. There are outlets for men to donate to women that are looking for this. In the sperm bank industry, it's a billion-dollar industry. So, and that's mainly the only route most people know about to get pregnant, to have a family,
Mhm.
whether they're a lesbian couple or a single mom that's tired of waiting for Mr. Right, or a married couple that's having fertility issues. There are guys out there that struggle with the fertility issues, but they, don't know that until after they're married. Um, well, I started going down that road after I was divorced and kind of had no idea what I was doing. Well, there are websites, there are Facebook groups. I didn't even know about the Facebook groups at first, but and there's one app that came out in 2017, and it's really bad. It's horrible.
Mm.
So I'm making a new app, my own app, to do this. It's a social network that connects sperm donors and recipients. And yeah, it's going to be released hopefully this month. They've been coding it for a year and a half now,
Yeah.
and it's big part of its education. So,
Gotcha. So I guess
so
go ahead.
no, that's all. Go ahead.
Gotcha. No, I was gonna ask, how did you decide on doing that? Because like going from being a musician, getting into welding, boiler making, and going going this route.
Um, well, the musician thing was a dream.
Mhm.
I dream big, and I've always been an entrepreneur. So I went dreaming big as far as the whole fame thing is kind of you know, I don't know, selfish in a way, to me. Uh, Looking back, but audio production engineering, analyzing, listening to, and
Mhm.
dissecting music and songs over and over. So then I had the idea, and I was in a band at the time. I had started another band uh, at this point when I met my ex-wife, and but when I had we started dating, and I had the idea that I was going to ask her to marry me. I literally Googled highest paying jobs in America, and number three was welding inspector. It was
Oh.
doctor, lawyer, something like that, and then welding inspector. So 2 weeks later, I was enrolled in welding school
Hmm.
because you have to have 5 years of experience before they even let you take the welding inspector test.
Mhm.
So I started from ground zero and made a lot of money. I had, welding where I met you,
Mhm.
and but not something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I wasn't the only person, I guess, that Googled that, because that's over those 5 years, a lot of other people got their CWI. So the market for that is flooded.
Mhm.
And you really have to know somebody to get into it. Welding inspectors for a pipeline can make 400 grand a year easy, but they got to travel. They got to chase that money.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done traveling. I want to be here with my kids.
Mm.
So, um, so I went from dissecting music to dissecting welds, metal, and inspecting, and now I'm overanalyzing this app. I need to just stop telling them to fix this or that and release it and fix it afterwards, because it's dragging out. And software engineers are not cheap. So um, it's kind of going that route. I saw a market for it, and a disconnect. It's not only going to help educationally with a lot of these recipients and donors, but it's hopefully also going to make it safer. There are scammers out there. There are people with ill intentions. Guys just think they can get laid,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But most of my most of my recipients are lesbians. Majority of them.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have straight women that would like to work with me, but it's an emotional journey, for these
Yeah.
women, and you know, trying to get pregnant, trying to have a family, and then month after month getting negative pregnancy tests. It's emotional,
Mm.
devastating, and but when they get the positive, it's the holy grail. It's not a home run, it's winning the World Series for them, so
Yeah.
um but the journey there is can be very emotional. So a lot of educational things, trying to help people mentally prepare for these things, and not only fit, and then also physically prepare their body
Mhm.
for uh, conceiving. But there are a lot of spokes to this hub, a lot, and this app is going to connect them all. Because on these, like for example, on these Facebook groups, it's just it's chaos. People giving bad advice and so
Yeah.
on and so on. But that's kind of how I got there. I saw an opportunity with how bad someone else did it,
Mhm.
and a need in the market, need for it, and so I said, "Heck with it, I'm gonna do it."
It's pretty, how would I say it, insightful of you. It's like just seeing a problem that may not be like your personal problem, but witnessing someone else go through it and just wanting to find the solution to it. I think it's kind of speaks to that entrepreneurial brain of yours and just wanting to dream big and also problem solve, even when it went from getting married to um, wanting to provide, going the welding route, and then from there saying, okay, that's not working, let me do something else, and then let me be close to my kids but also have a way to work, whether it's remotely or just do something that's out of the box but that can benefit a good number of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's ultimately my goal, is to spend more time with my kids, and hopefully this pans out. If not, I'll have to pivot and figure it out.
Yeah.
Uh, but but yeah, absolutely.
What's the app called?
Big fat positive.
Big Fat Positive. I like that.
They don't say that's not, the lingo isn't, well, I mean that is lingo, but they don't say that. They say BFP. I
Gotcha.
got I got my BFP.
Mm,
So,
cool.
but yeah, that's what it stands for.
So I guess in order to put it out there, have you had to connect with Facebook groups and kind of do, how would you say, like market research to kind of figure out what it is that people need, what it is that they're lacking, and try to make sure it, as you're working out the bugs for the app, like those needs are being met?
Well, um, what's initially coming out is the MVP, the minimum viable product,
Hmm.
and that's just to get it out the door,
Gotcha.
and released. It's going to be pretty basic initially, but if I had to guess, it's only going to be 30% of what's I envision the app having to offer.
Hmm.
It's kind of like Facebook. It's never done.
Yeah.
They're always reinventing, releasing new features, and we plan to do the same. But I do have a co-founder, and he's the guy that started the Facebook groups
Mm.
for this purpose. So um, he's invested, and um, but right now we're trying to just have a product first before we really promote it or talk to anybody else about any outside money.
Gotcha.
In order to scale and go on, get bigger with other features. But there is a list of features, absolutely. But it's kind of we'll have to do some A/B testing. We could
Mhm.
come out with a feature and people don't like it, they don't want to use it. But and then we'll have to do all that. But definitely going to try my best. I'm about to sign up for Mixpanel, which keeps track of analytics and metrics of user activity and signups and retention and all that. So that's one thing I have to get set up before the actual launch,
Gotcha.
which which is huge data for any startup. Um, Absolutely.
I like it. I like that the approach, and I feel like it's something I've had to learn working in construction and working with like things that have hard deadlines where it's best to get something out first rather than like keep keep trying to perfect it, because like you said, it's never really perfect, but doing the best you can with what you've got, like having one thing is better than having nothing, and then just being able to approve upon it is is it's always a good approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been watching a lot of videos about the entrepreneurs doing this type of thing, particular type of thing with startups, and a lot of these guys, people, they've already done it. They've already made all mistakes. I mean, like, and then they say, like, do you remember when Google released the
Mhm.
Google release date? Can anybody name the Google release date? No, no one remembers that because they did it multiple times. The first Google, when it came out, sucked. It was
Yeah,
horrible. It was crap. Same thing with the iPhone. The first iPhone it was revolutionary, but it was still horrible
yeah,
compared to what it is today. And same with Facebook. No one remembers the release date because they just, they just released. And on top of that, Google they were the one that did it the best,
yeah,
but they were the 34th one to come out, and they did it right. But not initially. They had
yeah.
to they had to they had to get better and better and better. So but they had to start somewhere.
Mm.
So
That's encouraging, even even for doing podcasting. It's like um, remembering whenever we just get on and have a conversation. It's like sometimes you just gotta do it and then put it out, because even the episodes that are coming out around this time, June, are from November. And it's like obviously I've changed over like a 6 month period of time. And like although I can see mistakes in what was done, I'm trying not to force my hand and going back and changing things and retweaking them. But it's like allowing it to live as like, okay, this is a roadmap as to what's changed since you started here, you're there. Maybe it looks like this at other times. It's like you're kind of going on a seesaw, but there is there is some progress that's been made and that
yeah,
continues to be made.
yeah, that's really cool. Are you still working construction? Or are you doing this? Are you an influencer now? What are you doing?
No, I do this on the weekends, but I got out
Uh,
of construction for a little bit, and then I'm doing geotech work now, where we basically do a lot of soil borings to inspect the the quality of the ground before they do any construction work.
okay. Oh, that's really cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's you got a mix of travel and a mix of working in the office and kind of learning a new skill. As I would say relearning, but it's been so long since like doing that. But it's fun. Sometimes I could almost describe it like playing in the dirt and getting paid for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right on.
But what's life been like for you since you left Vogel? Have you kept up with anyone?
Um, just well, I mean, really no one in particular, being friends on Facebook or something like that. I don't remember if you remember Joe, but he did work for CBI before he got hurt, and then he changed to pipe fitters. But yeah, he grew up, he was born and raised in Augusta, so
Gotcha.
but he's still there, but he works for the pipe fitters now. But yeah, but as far as life, I mean, I've just been working out, running,
Yeah.
been in the gym more than running lately, and just going to work, going to the gym, going home, have my kids on the weekend. It's kind of a routine. I'll be in New York next week for my sister's wedding, but
Oh,
other than
nice.
that, really just stick around in Nashville, try not to spend too much money, because I did have to take a pay cut for what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But that was intentional. So
What's the environment like in Nashville versus Augusta?
a lot of tourists. um, I don't know. I mean, I have a roommate, so, but I don't really know many people here. And when I was in Augusta, I was going on dates left and right. It was expensive. It
Mm.
was like a hobby, taking all these girls out and paying for it. But here, it's just, I don't know if it's a tourism thing or what, but
Mhm.
I just I'm using the same dating apps too here as
Mhm.
I was in Augusta and Georgia, and I don't know. Maybe I should change my pictures. I don't know. I'm not I have not gone on many dates. I have not gone on many dates at all here. So not that, I mean, like I said, I'm trying not to spend too much money here.
Right.
So
I
I'm
was gonna
also
say,
not that
is the
motivated.
cost of living changed any since like 2020, and then kind of people moving out of like bigger cities from the West Coast or even East Coast like New York and down south more?
Oh yeah, well, Nashville has a huge influx of tens of thousands of people moving here annually every year.
Mm.
It's becoming a very popular city. I remember that happening to Austin, Texas back in the day, and apparently that's happening to Nashville right now. And um, it's crazy. It's more expensive here, cost of living absolutely compared to Georgia.
Mm.
I bought a house in Georgia and I sold it before I moved out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Wish I would have not and rented it out.
Mm.
I mean, I made some money on it, but God, it'd probably be worth 50,000 more than what I sold it for right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, sure, I would have done that, but I mean, I want to buy a house here, but I don't know. And also on top of that, I think about getting into real estate. So that's another entrepreneur thing I'm thinking about doing. We'll see.
Which part, the being an agent selling houses, or like trying to renovate them or hold houses yourself?
Not a real estate agent, but I might get a real estate license just because
Mm.
to have that insight.
Gotcha. That one's
But
still in the back of my mind.
there's a lot. I wish I would have done a long time ago. There's a lot of money in real estate, but I don't know. There's probably gonna be another bubble to pop. Who knows? In some way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love it here. I love the scene. There's lots to do, lots of opportunities compared to Augusta and compared to where I grew up in Louisiana. It's a lot more to do. But you got the mountains,
Mhm.
And I just like the so far I really like the people here. Yeah.
That's good. What was it? I think I spent almost a year in Louisiana, and it was a it was a big it took some getting used to a little bit culturally, but just like landscape wise and just seeing how flat it was. And I was like, wow, like coming back to Georgia, I was like, man, okay, I can appreciate the mountains. And even this past earlier this week, I think on Monday, since it was Memorial Day, I went up. I was in the Atlanta area in Lithonia, and they have, I guess it's like Stone Mountains on the north side, but then they have this other place called the Arabia Mountains, and I think it was like an old rock quarry where they would come in there, cut out rock to use for construction, and I just walked
Mm.
around it, and they had these um, small pillars where they just stacked up some rocks, and they laid out a path to let you know where you would be walking. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
it's different, but it was something to do to get outside.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Louisiana is a floodplain, so it's flat as a freaking pancake
Mm.
for the most part. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm doing now. The company I work for right now, we build conveyor belts and chutes for quarries. Um, and there's a lot of quarries in Tennessee,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
mainly most of this rock is used for road construction and interstate construction, highway, and all that. And so it's a lot of rocks. So,
yeah. It's funny.
but it's a
I've heard
local
that.
local company.
Gotcha. I've heard that from the guys that will do drilling for us up in Tennessee, and they're like they're always coring rock on a regular basis. I guess that's because of the Smoky Mountains, or just the, I think maybe the Appalachians that kind of spread out over that way.
Yep.
Gotcha. So like, are you doing welding
Yeah,
with your company, or
absolutely.
in addition to it?
Uh, I welder, so I have other welders that work on my crew. Um, it's just, someone doesn't come in, then I will weld, of course. But most time I'm reading blueprints and laying stuff out, and then telling them to weld it.
Gotcha.
But um, they want to make me the shop foreman, but we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens with the app. See how long this takes. I assume the app is going to be a slow burn, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Um, depending on marketing, I mean, it's going to have, hopefully, I mean, depending on marketing, could potentially have a spike of users and downloads and all that. But it's a matter of whether they like it, stay, we have retention. Um, there will always be more recipients. There will
Yeah.
always be new donors. Not everybody wants to have a kid now.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks about it. Whether they say yes, I want to have a family, then they could use us donor. That's one thing, but it's not something everybody would use. Like everybody uses Facebook or
Mhm.
something like that. But in the end, it could just be an educational thing, even for a married couple that's struggling, for ways to increase the fertility for the male or female,
Mm.
to increase their chances of conceiving, uh, without even ever having to try to use a donor.
Right.
It's married, has a husband. You just use the educational portion of the app. So that's where we want to get to eventually, but kind of just depends on how everything goes, with getting it out the door and promoting it, marketing, and um, so I imagine it being a slow burn. There might be initial spike, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's a bad thing for investors getting out taking outside money from
Yeah.
MCs. I'm sorry, VCs. Uh, uh, they don't like the slow burn. They want to
Mm.
return their money quickly
Right.
because
Right.
if that looks bad on their portfolio. Why you sit on a board of this company? It's taking forever to make any money or go public. You're when they sit on multiple boards, and VCs can only sit on so many boards. They have a limit to the amount of boards they can sit on. So if they're sitting on this company and it's taking forever to go up,
Mhm.
um, not good. They're not gonna want to work with you in the first place. So there's that as well.
Gotcha. What's a VC? I think I might have missed that.
That's a venture capitalist.
Okay, gotcha. So it's like in developing this app and things like that, as you're getting closer and closer to releasing it, are you thinking about like outsourcing marketing, or kind of like checking out social media a little bit more to make yourself present, to let people know like, hey, this resource is available?
Trying not to spend any money first for paid advertising, and
Gotcha.
particularly until I get the analytics and metrics set up so I can track that, seeing how many users, particularly how many paying users came from those paid ads,
Right.
because those ads might bring some traffic and downloads, but whether those users that downloaded it actually converted to a paying user, subscribing user, then you tracked. I have to have that data to be able to make decisions on the advertising.
Right.
And because the app is going to be a freemium, you can download it for free, but there'll be other features on the app that you can unlock if you subscribe and pay the monthly fee. So there's that. And once we get enough users, we can turn on advertising, which will be another revenue
Mhm.
source you can buy. So there'll be three revenue sources. But like for example, on the Facebook groups, I was telling my co-founders like, hey, you need to make a post in the group, tell some recipients to make some TikTok videos about the group.
Mhm.
God, we should not have done that.
What was the
Well, he
result?
did. We went from 8,000 members to over 40,000 members
Oh,
in a matter of like 2 weeks. It
wow.
was insane. The donors were overwhelmed, including myself.
Hmm.
It was bad decision. It was just like an experiment, though.
Right.
Should have waited, and the app was out instead of promoting the groups. But now we have over 40,000. Now the group's up to like 44,000. But now we have over 40,000 people to tell about the app. So we do have that immediate exposure. I also have some TV producers wanting to make a TV series about this world of
Hmm.
donors and recipients that me and multiple other donors have been talking to. But so we'll see. But there's that. I mean, there's YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, and I have made accounts for the app on all of these platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Um, I even made a Snapchat. I don't know really how to use the Snapchat one for the app, but it's a long list of other apps to use, other platforms to use to promote this app. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do it all internally, organically first, just us, see how big a response we might get, and then go from there.
Gotcha. I guess I was curious, what's the conversation been like in the Facebook group, like when it was 8,000 and then when it exploded to like over 40,000?
Um, well, it was 18,000, not eight. So I didn't
Gotcha.
go from
Okay.
8 to 40. It went from 18 to
Okay.
40.
Got you.
I'll basically double up. Um, but it was really just a lot of recipients posting saying, "Hey, it's my first time. Saw the TikTok video." Basically, just a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it's the group. There are other groups on Facebook that other people have made. This is the one with probably the most members.
Hmm.
Uh, and this group I'm talking about is just a USA group.
Got
You're
you.
only allowed to use it if you're only accepted to it if you live within the United States. There are some other groups out there that there's one that has like 70,000, but they accept other people.
Hmm.
The thing is about this group, there's moderators of it, and they don't put up with any drama. They
Hmm.
don't put up with any bullying. They don't put up with any negativity. You'll be blocked damn near immediately if any of that happens. But there's a lot of scammers. But initially, my app will just be released in the
Hmm.
U.S. and Canada. That's it.
Got you.
Um, and eventually internationally. But uh, I don't know. It's going to take steps.
Got
So
you.
as far as the groups, it's the moderators of the group. I'm a moderator of some other groups,
Hmm.
but not particularly the bigger one. My co-founder made a lot of groups, naming them different things in the
Hmm.
hope in the thinking that people are going to be searching different things in Facebook. So he just used different words for different groups,
Got you.
depending on what someone might search. But they all
Mm.
pretty much try to funnel everybody to this bigger group.
Got you. I guess the reason I was asking, what's the conversation like within the group? Because I know you mentioned with other groups, like it could just kind of go left field. But I was curious, is it more tailored around donors being found, or people that are seeking donors being able to connect with them and like build a relationship to say, okay, like, hey, this is someone I can trust, these are my needs? And or is it more about building a community of like people that are the first time, hey, I'm thinking about starting a family, I don't know how, I heard about this group, like what have been some of you guys' experiences?
It's basically all of that. There's posts hitting so many different topics in there. Some women posting their ovulation strips, asking advice from other recipients, said, "Hey, am I ovulating? Should I inseminate?" And to people posting pictures of pregnancy tests. Can you see the line? Not, and other people asking advice. Have you used this donor? Is
Hmm.
she trustworthy? And other people asking legal questions about contracts between donors and recipients.
Hmm.
And that's a whole nother legal thing. That's a very long conversation.
Right.
Uh, so there's lots of topics and lots of information. I'm saying it's all over the place in these groups, and that's what I want this app to narrow it down to be the one-stop shop to get all your answers.
Got you.
Mainly through the educational videos, but
Hmm.
also through just gonna have to post some links about all the legal stuff.
Hmm.
But eventually, maybe we have like because there's no federal law for all these things. It's
Hmm.
just state by state.
Yeah.
Every state has their own law, and some states don't even have laws for these things yet. They haven't caught up to it.
Mm.
So, um, but aside from hiring a lawyer to draw up a contract within your state,
Yeah.
mm, there are contracts, little template cookie cutter contracts that people try to use
Hmm.
for this to protect the recipient from the donor coming after custody, or to protect the donor from the recipients coming after child support.
Mm.
Um, uh, but those cookie cutter ones, um, the only state that upholds them is California.
Mm.
So unless you live in California, those are trash
Yeah.
and hold zero legal value. That's just an example. So
Yeah.
there's lots
No,
and lots of things as
I,
far.
I I like that
Yeah.
because that's a great example because it it speaks to the next level of what happens after the fact because it's like the getting pregnant, starting a family thing is maybe step one, but then it's like after the fact you could have like the backbiting or like, okay, this was what was agreed on, but now someone comes in introducing like, okay, but I changed my mind, or
Yeah.
I want
That's,
something different. But like having something that's a standard to say like, hey, this is what we're agreeing to, and let's stick to this, or at least let me have something to protect myself with.
mhm.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the, the I think something recently happened in Idaho where these married lesbian couple use a basic contract with their donor, and they had a child, and they ended up getting a divorce.
Mm,
Well, the judge did not uphold the contract, and um, so what they should have, even though they're married, the recipient that did not carry the child signed the birth certificate. That wasn't enough. They still need to do the
mm,
second parent adoption after the fact. So there might be some laws changing here soon. Depends on if the other states adopt it. But we'll see. And there's also, the genetic things.
yeah.
Some recipients want the donor to get a genetic test for any type of genetic diseases that might be passed on.
Right.
Um, but maybe one day the app could offer that as well. But I mean, that is a fear. That's
Hmm.
another fear for the recipient. Um, and there's also STD tests that donors have to keep up with and provide
Right.
proof of, and the recipients also have to provide that if they're doing it the natural way. So there's a lot of things, and it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. But
It's
having something that streamlines that would definitely be helpful as a thing to say, like, hey, if you're serious about this and you're not just like coming into a Facebook group and scamming it. And yeah, especially, I guess it's interesting because like just the idea alone is very interesting. You creating an app, I think that's commendable. And also at a time when recently they're, I guess, either in the news or just like in the discussion when people are talking about not wanting to have children. On the opposite side, it's nice to see a different conversation on the other side where it's everybody doesn't think the same. Like some people may not want to, and other people may want to and can't. And just knowing that there's options out there is a breath of fresh air, so to speak.
yeah, right on. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even before COVID, the prior 6 years to 2020, the birth rate in America was on a decline 6 years in a row.
Mm,
Which I thought was crazy statistic, but of course 2020 was the least. Of course, saw that coming. Well, and also a record high in divorces. Everybody's
mhm.
having to be at home with their spouse.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, so and there's other things. I mean, like there's a Netflix documentary just came out called Our Father.
Mhm.
It's about that fertility clinic doctor that used his own sperm to get women pregnant when they thought they were using a donor sperm, and he did it against their will without them knowing. He did it over a 30-year period.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah. So, and back then, ancestry.com and 23andMe didn't exist, but now they do. Now people are using those things and they're finding out that their father isn't who they thought they were, and they're actually being able to see.
Mm,
And at the end of the documentary, through all these DNA testing, they found out that he wasn't the only doctor that did that. It's that's alone, just that thing is a big deterrent for some women to even go the sperm bank route.
Yeah.
But some women want an anonymous donor. Some
Mm.
women want a known donor. I'm a known donor. I am not an anonymous donor. So if that is what they want, then I tell them good luck.
Yeah.
We're not a good match. Not that I want to be a part of the child's life or not, but I would like the option to meet them one day if they want to when they turn 18. When
Yeah.
they're 18, they can do what they want. If they do not want to meet me, that's great. That's their call.
Yeah.
But I know if for them, I would want to meet me. Meet my father. I would want to meet my father one day.
Yeah.
Even though I might have been raised, had two rooms. So
How
anyway,
how did you
there's so many. No.
go ahead? No, go ahead.
It's a big decision. Big. So. No, that was all. I was just saying.
Gotcha. No, I think my internet might be acting up. I was gonna ask how did you become a donor?
Well, I after my divorce, I thought about going the sperm bank route, because my ex and I talked about having a fourth kid. We already
Mhm.
had three. And I always thought that, yeah, I I'd be okay with four, one as many as I could afford. Cut it off at four. But obviously we got a divorce, so the fourth one was not going to happen. And I just kind of had that thought in my head. So then I started dating at some point after the divorce was final, and it's like, God, um, it could be years before I meet somebody that I even like, and
Mhm.
here it is, over 3 years later, I'm still single. I've had one girlfriend since my divorce,
Yeah.
and that only lasted 2 months. But regardless, I'm kind of picky now. I got higher standards after a divorce.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was like, it could be years before I meet somebody I like, let alone want to have a kid with. So started doing some Google searches and found some websites that did this. And that's how I met my first recipient, just through a website. And I met my second one through another website, a different one. And then on one of those websites, someone had mentioned something about the Facebook groups and forum, and so I went to Facebook search, and I didn't find them. So a couple months later, I saw something else about it, and I went back to Facebook, and I guess I searched the wrong words, and I searched the right ones the second time, and they just all bam, 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 popped in, and after that, the floodgates were open because I joined the groups, was accepted, read the feed, and saw kind of how it worked. Made a post with a picture of myself, and then my inbox just lit up. It just was on fire, and it's like, oh my god, I need to delete that post. And so that's kind of how it happened as far as deciding. I don't know. It kind of I don't know. I That's a tough answer for that question. That's a tough question to answer.
Gotcha.
I mean, I wanted more kids. I've always, long as I've can remember, I've always assumed I get married and have kids, all that. And I don't know,
Did
it kind of distracted me after my divorce. I really wasn't in a good place.
Gotcha.
Mentally. I was very depressed. It's the hardest thing I've ever encountered. And the bit part of it was not being able to see my kids every day
Mhm.
on a daily basis. that was devastating to me. And um, so doing this is kind of a it was very slow at first. Doing this kind of a hobby, I don't know. I felt appreciated
Yeah.
um, from these women. I was like a godsend to them, um, giving them the blessing of parenthood. They were extremely appreciative of it. I mean, especially when we were successful.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It made me feel
Did
good to
did
help others
Gotcha. Did
at
you
the
come
same
from
time. So,
a big family yourself?
uh, not so much. I mean, I have two siblings.
Gotcha. I've got 5 siblings, so, um,
Yeah.
I was just curious because, like, some people that may not have any siblings and they're, like, an only child, they grow up maybe wanting a big family. Other people on the opposite end that have a lot of kids may be like, I don't know." But, just just kind of knowing what got you into it is, kind of helps me understand like what the motivation is and just being willing to help other people because like I think we kind of mentioned dating apps before, but it's like being a donor and going on dates with people is they're two very different things. And then when you mention like the mistrust that comes in from doctors that were supposed to be administering this in a professional manner. You think a doctor is someone that's like the white lab coat, they've gone to school, they're respectable, but it's like that I don't know if you call it narcissism or just like the bad intentions still find a way to come through in people's actions and characters. But it like seeing your viewpoint as to what you've seen, what you've witnessed, and what you're doing about it to give people a different outcome is positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I already have my three kids.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the only way I was able to really do this, start this.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would have had to have gone to get a sperm analysis done, proving that I actually had motile uh, sperm with good numbers
Mm.
that I could, potentially get someone pregnant. But I already had three kids, so I could obviously make them.
Yeah.
Um, but, but yeah, I mean, there is a level of a lot of donors have been called narcissists. They just want to see a bunch of themselves, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, but um, I don't know. I mean, I do make cute babies, but I already have my three kids, and that's again a huge concern. They are my priority with recipients. I mean, my first three kids are my priority with my time and my money,
Yeah.
um, and that's reassuring to them. Um, I have met some of my donor children,
Mm.
but they're they're still very young. All of them are younger than two and a half. Well, all of them are younger than three
Mhm.
right now. So they didn't know who I was. It was just some family friend. They weren't saying like, oh, this is your daddy.
Yeah.
Even if they did, the kid would be too young to really grasp it, understand it.
Right.
So, but I have a minimum. I tell them as a donor, my minimum as a donor is so on, and
Mhm.
either they agree to it or they don't, and they move on and find another donor. But I do kind of want to see pictures of the child. Where I am friends with all my recipients on Facebook, so uh, um, if they post a picture of the child, I see it. Um, to just see the kids doing good and kind of see them growing up from the outside looking in. Um, that's just makes me smile every time I see a picture of one of them. So um, it's great. And some of my recipients, I made a private Facebook group
Mhm.
for all my successful recipients to join, and they actually get together and take the kids on play dates if they some some of them that live in the same within the same area.
Yeah.
uh yeah, and it's crazy. Never thought that would happen, but when I made that group, that was not my intention, but it happened. I was like, oh my God, that is incredible. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Like the little siblings actually getting to grow up around each other, and you know, absolutely shocking to me, but in the best way.
Yeah. Would you like your first three kids to meet, I guess, potentially their half siblings?
I'm sure they will one day, but you know, my kids are still young. My
Yeah.
kids are 8, 6, and 3 right now, and so I mean, they don't know. My ex doesn't know.
Yeah.
My ex and I get great. She turned out to be a great co-parent. Um, we haven't got in an argument in any way for like 2 years. Just doing the co-parenting thing. It's been absolutely awesome
Mm.
with her. Better than when we were married. Is awesome.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she don't, I'm not telling her, I'm not ruining that, but she's gonna find out one day, especially with the app and
Right.
any type of marketing publicity with that, she'll find out.
Or with the
My
podcast.
kids will find out. Yeah, it depends on how popular you are,
Yeah.
but uh, there's a bunch of potential for that too. But um, either way, my kids one day meet their siblings. That'd be great. Hopefully, they look at it as a positive way. I've heard stories of donor kids growing up, taking it the wrong way. You
Mm.
know, like when eventually their two moms tell them this, or that even if they had a heterosexual couple um, that had to use a sperm bank, you know, telling their kid later when they're older. I've heard stories of the child being hurt and like, you lied to me my whole life, and
Mm.
taking it the negative way.
Yeah.
But a lot of my recipients are kind of in the frame of mind that they're always going to let the child know, you know, at a certain point that they're a donor child, and this is how mommy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, made a family, and not keep them in the dark about it. So
Yeah.
everybody's reaction could be different. You don't really know until you get there, and just something that hopefully those parents do gracefully. I don't know.
Yeah. I've got to say it like I mentioned earlier, it's refreshing having an adult conversation or like a mature conversation where it's not something I get to talk about on a regular basis, but being able to like peer a little bit into your experience, what you have going on, what you're working on, and even having questions that aren't easy to answer, but taking a shot at it and just being open. I've just say thank you for that, because if in spending time on like just scrolling through the different social medias or what's put out, it's kind of like a lot of rinse and repeat. Okay, this gets your attention, that gets your attention, but like a lot of the work and life that happens offline when you kind of unplug from um yeah, whatever's going on online, it's like there's so much more going on in the world. Like when you go for a hike, walking in the woods, like there isn't a paparazzi uh or a TV crew following you out there being like, okay, like Monday you did this, Tuesday you did this, Wednesday you did this, Saturday you're doing this. It's like just what's that?
I was just saying, right. I agree with you.
Yeah, man. Um, let people know where they can get in touch with you, or just learn about getting resources like this that they can educate themselves about.
Well, well, it's all comes around big fat positive. If you search big fat positive on Facebook, you have to search the page Big Fat Positive LLC, which I'm gonna have to change the name because we're gonna be doing a C corp eventually and changing it from the LLC. There's that. There's so many things. This
Yeah,
goes on, but on Instagram, Big Fat Positive, TikTok, Big Fat Positive, and but our website that doesn't have the links to all the social media platforms yet, but will, is bfpnow.com.
I like it.
And the email for that for any is at the bottom, but it's contact@bfpnow.com. And you can get a hold of me there, or at any of the social platforms. It's a big fat positive sign that's half pink and half blue. So that's the icon to look out for.
I like it. I'm sure this will help a lot of people if it comes through the podcast or just the work that you guys are doing now and going forward. I encourage you to just keep at it, keep helping the people you can help, and just continue to cultivate that environment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we want to build, is a community, really. That's supporting each other. So
Good stuff. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. I thank you for coming on and sharing what you've been up to, sharing the business, and I wish
yeah,
you best of luck in it. I think by the time this comes out, you'll probably be 3 to 6 months into it. So it'll be nice to see how it looks on the
okay.
other end.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate the time and opportunity, Asher. Thank you.
You're welcome.